Lou, are you going to make the introduction?
So I will be making an introduction here in just a moment, folks. The attendees are coming in. We're going to give people a few minutes to join as the numbers are just sort of steadily growing here. Stand by. All right, welcome and good morning to everybody. This is the ongoing seminar series with IE Business Daily. Today, we're going to be talking about supply chain issues and its effects on the Inland Empire and beyond. Our expert source today is Phil Bensinger. He founded Capital Income Properties Group in 1984. Prior to that, he was a commercial real estate agent at Asheville Burke in Orange, California. He specialized in selling land to commercial developers along with leasing and selling commercial buildings and land. Since its founding in 1984, Capital Income Properties Group is focused on creating conservative commercial real estate investments that have provided our clients with consistent, reliable, long-term monthly cash flow dividends. So if you have questions as we go ahead and type them into the chat. We're going to hold the questions till the end unless something extraordinary happens. In that case, I will interrupt and ask the question. But let's go ahead and welcome Phil Bensinger.
Oh, good morning. Hi, Lou, and thank you so much, you and Nicole both, for allowing me to be a part of this session. I really appreciate it. So I guess supply chain is a word that we're all familiar with recently, I think, as it has been in the news. It's pretty much in the news every day. And you know, the Inland Empire is kind of in the epicenter of feeling the major effects of it, primarily because of Long Beach and LA harbors. So now, as of 10/27, there were more than 100, 10/27/21, there were more than 100 ships anchored off of Los Angeles and Long Beach Harbor, waiting for berthing slot to be unloaded. And this logjam is estimated not to ease up until June of 2022. Currently, the average wait time to be unloaded is 3 weeks. This is a major problem, obviously, getting the freight off the ships. And so anyway, there's a lot of contributing factors, but one of the things is that we have a lack of truck drivers. It's estimated that right now we need an additional 25,000 truck drivers. And over the next 10 years, we're going to need over 1 million in order to keep up with the onslaught of freight that's coming into Long Beach and Los Angeles harbors. The current, excuse me for jumping around a little bit here. The current administration's policy of social entitlement and stimulus payments is causing this to be a little worse than it needs to be. So that there's really not enough people looking for jobs. The ports, and to give you some statistics, the ports of Los Angeles, according to our research, and Long Beach, they handle over 50% of the overseas cargo shipped to the United States, making LA Long Beach by far the largest ports in the United States. And most of that cargo is shipped to warehouses right here in the Inland Empire, and it's stored before it moves eastward to other cities in the United States. And the reason for that is that this is the only geographic area that has parcels of land large enough to accommodate these large warehouses and distribution centers. This constant large movement of products has put tremendous pressure on the Inland Empire's logistical storage and highway infrastructure. And after many years of massive industrial growth, we are starting to experience pushback by a lot of different sources. Those include Inland Empire cities, communities, because of the truck traffic and the related environmental concerns. Heretofore, the most prominent pushback so far has been the AQMD, which is the South Coast Air Quality Management District's implementation of the new warehouse rule, which requires all the operators to change from diesel to electric powered trucks, install solar panels, and use electric vans to deliver all their packages. And those who don't cooperate will have to pay cash fees that are assessed for those if they're not able to do that. As you may know, the AQMD is responsible for improving air quality for more than 17 million people living in Los Angeles, Orange, Riverside, and San Bernardino County. This warehouse indirect source rule that went in effect on May 7th is expected to affect 3,000 warehouses, or about 800 million square feet, when it takes effect in early 2022. Obviously, the object of the rule is to reduce nitrogen oxide from diesel exhaust, which can contribute to bad air that can cause cancer, asthma, and heart disease, as well as global climate change. But there's some other things on the horizon that are also causing quite a bit of pushback, and that's we're starting to see numerous cities in the Inland Empire that are, there's a lot of cities and groups that are against additional warehouse development. So what started out as a small movement has now grown to the point where almost every city in the Inland Empire has a community. Almost every city and community, pardon me, now has a group opposed to new large-scale industrial development. And most of the opposition seems to be focused on adverse effects of increased truck traffic. You may have, most people attending this webinar may have heard that on October 13th, President Biden announced that the Port of Los Angeles will operate 24/7 to clear the logjam of cargo ships anchored off the Southern California coast. The Port of Long Beach is already operating 24/7, and it's in its ramp-up phase. I think it's important to note that the Biden announcement did not elaborate in detail on how the 24/7 plan would be implemented. And as a consequence, there's numerous criticisms that have already surfaced from knowledgeable experts indicating that this may be more of a precipitous political public relations statement rather than one based on sound practical research. There are many moving and complicated mechanisms that are required to effectively operate the logistics of a major port such as Los Angeles. And as a matter of fact, on Wednesday, the same Wednesday that he made the announcement, Jen Psaki, his press secretary, seemed to walk back the Biden statement by stating that she can't make a prediction that we're going to solve every issue tomorrow or next week. She said it's just not one issue. In addition to that, we've got a renowned economist, John Husing in Redlands, stated that the operating the ports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week will create significant changes in another part of the supply chain. And he stated that the Inland Empire's vast system of warehouses, the whole system, he said, is clogged, and it has been for some time. So here's a picture of a satellite picture from Spare Maritime showing how the shipping backlog in California looks from a satellite view. You can see all those ships that are anchored out there. And I might add also that I think, from my perspective, that this is in addition to being a logistical problem, this is, to me, seems to be a safety issue, or if you will, there's probably, I hate to say it, but there's probably terrorists someplace, when they see all these ships lined up outside our ports, some people may see that as a target. So I think there's another whole aspect of this that hasn't really been talked about that much. Now, going forward, of course, the reason the high desert, to me, seems like a logical place for warehousing and logistics to kind of on the next horizon, if you will, primarily because it's the only place that has land where you can get parcels large enough to build these large buildings. A typical building for a warehouse for Amazon is anywhere from, say, 500,000 feet to over 1 million square feet. And that's not just Amazon, that's also for companies like Walmart. So, the high desert, they have proximity to Interstate 15, Highway 58, Highway 395, in addition to rail transportation. And so it seems like that may be the next logical step, because quite candidly, the Inland Empire is going to run out of land itself here in the next 10 to 20 years, if not sooner. Already there is at the former George Air Force Base in the Apple Valley, Victorville area, they have the Southern California Logistical Airport, and it serves as a aircraft maintenance, completion services, flight testing, aircraft research, and end of life cycle for storage of airplanes. And then there's also a logistical warehouse part of that adjacent to it that has buildings that are already available from 2,000 to 1 million square feet. So basically that kind of is my overview of the situation, and then we can turn it over to you, Lou, if you want to open it up for question and answers.
Right. Thank you for that overview, Phil. I know we have people who probably have questions. I'm going to start with this one. What is the effect of the shifting of the center of the universe of the warehouse business going up to the high desert going to have, do you think, on overall commercial values there and also home values?
Well, I think it's going to, like it's done here in the Western Ontario area and in Riverside and San Bernardino area, it can only drive the prices up. I mean, a parcel of land in the Western area of the Inland Empire is now going for 80, can go as high as $80 to $100 a square foot, and land in the upper desert is substantially less than that. So it will have an upward pressure on prices over time as the demand ebbs up, in my opinion.
And the time frame for shifting from, say, Ontario, San Bernardino, Rancho Cucamonga, Riverside to up to Apple Valley, the high desert, you think is going to take how long?
Well, I think unless something drastic happens someplace else in the continental United States in terms of other ports opening up, I think it's the demand. It's going to have to start happening here, in my opinion, in the next 2 to 5 years. Really, we're running out of land is what it boils down to. There is some larger parcels still available in Moreno Valley, but pretty much most of that's been spoken for by the World Logistics Center. So this is the only logical conclusion, in my opinion, is to make the leap up to the high desert area. And I think it'll happen within the next 2 to 5 years. It'll have to start happening.
You recently attended the IVDA logistics event last week. Estimable economist and friend of this publication and my radio show, Jay Pragg, had some very pointed things to say about people that are in those groups opposing the development of warehouses. What can you paraphrase or tell us a little bit about what he had to say about that?
Yeah, well, as I recall, there's always going to be the people like that are going to object to it. But the reality is that this is and Jay brought this out, this is a good thing for the Inland Empire because it's a job creator. And there's a lot of good jobs that are being created by these warehouse facilities. So, his comments, as I recall, were more positive in nature, and that we should get behind this because this is the future. A lot of this has been brought on by people shopping from home, and that's been accelerated because of the pandemic. We've all gotten used to doing our shopping on our computers now. And I really don't think that's going to change in the foreseeable future. It's going to become part of everyday life.
But because of the backup at the ports, the question is there going to be anything that you can buy?
Well, you mean in terms of industrial land?
Well, no, I'm saying in terms of the backup at the ports for consumers, all the warnings that have been coming out about buy early for Christmas because the shelves are going to be bare because of the backup. Is that hyperbole or is that really a possibility?
I think it's more hyperbole than myself because, I think you could, it's that gets headlines and it sells newspapers. But the reality is, with a little planning, you can still get everything on time. That's my opinion. At least I'm not having a problem so far.
All right. Well, I don't see any other questions from anybody else. Phil, why don't you just hit the high points in a minute or less and then give your contact information if people want to talk to you more? Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, I think the high point is, the takeaway from this for me is that this is the logistics and the warehousing is here to stay. There's really, it's going to become part of everyday life in the Inland Empire, and it's only going to get more important. So rather than fight it, I think we all have to kind of get our heads together and figure out a productive way to reap the benefits from it and capitalize on the fact that this does bring in jobs. And as far as my contact information is concerned, it's Capital Income Properties Group Incorporated, and CIPINC.com is our webpage. Phone number 951-454-8893. And I do consulting, and also we do real estate brokerage for commercial and industrial, and be more than happy to discuss any of this with anybody that would like to follow up.
Phil, love to have you back on the Lou Desmond and Company show sometime soon. Go over this. I am preempted next Monday, which I was thinking would be a great night to have you on, but I'm preempted by the Rams Monday Night Football game, so it'll probably have to be the week after that. I see Joe Asenzi is following this. He's the editor over at IE Business Daily. I'm sure he'll be writing a story about this. Thanks, everybody, for attending. And if you want a copy of this, you'll be able to get it at IE Business Daily, as well as get the highlights in the story that Joe Asenzi will be writing as a feature for next Monday. Thanks for attending, everybody. Thanks, Phil, for presenting. Appreciate it. And we'll talk to you next time.
Thank you, Lou. Really appreciate it.